All right, let's talk about a man who took on America's most powerful and most secret institutions. Senator Frank Church of Idaho. Now, you might not know his name, but trust me, his story is more relevant today than ever before.
This is the real question at the heart of it all, isn't it? It's a story about incredible courage, about sticking to your principles, and about the massive, massive price you pay for pulling back the curtain on the secret machinery of government.
So let's just dive right into the most explosive part of his career, his big showdown with America's intelligence agencies. Picture this. It's the mid-70s, and all these whispers about the CIA and the FBI doing some shady stuff, well, they've turned into a roar. So, the Senate decides to form a special committee to investigate, and they put Frank Church in charge. It would go on to be one of the most important investigations in American history.
Okay, so what did they actually find? Well, buckle up because it was absolutely jaw-dropping. The committee uncovered hard proof of CIA plots to assassinate foreign leaders like Fidel Castro. And get this, sometimes they even teamed up with the mafia to do it. They brought to light the FBI's massive campaigns to spy on and harass civil rights leaders, most famously, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. And it wasn't just famous people. They revealed how tons of ordinary American citizens were being illegally spied on by their own government. They even found out about secret government programs that tested drugs on people without them even knowing. I mean, the scale of all this, it was just beyond what anyone could have imagined.
So all of this just makes you wonder, right? Who was this guy? This senator from a pretty rural state, Idaho, who suddenly finds himself in the middle of a political firestorm, taking on the most powerful people in Washington. To really get why he did what he did in 1975, we've got to go back and look at his life.
And seriously, what a life it was. His early years were all about service, yeah, but they were also defined by this profound life-or-death challenge that would completely shape how he saw the world.
So after serving as an intelligence officer in World War II, Church comes home ready to start his life. And then, bam, a devastating blow, terminal cancer. The doctors gave him just a few months, maybe a year to live. But somehow, through all these awful treatments, he survived. He actually beat it. He goes on to Stanford Law, and by 1956, at just 32 years old, he gets elected to the U.S. Senate. Incredible. This quote, this right here, tells you everything you need to know about Frank Church. He genuinely believed he was living on borrowed time. That brush with death gave him this totally unique perspective. A philosophy that, hey, if life itself is a huge gamble, you might as well go all in on what you believe in. And this wasn't just some nice-sounding phrase for him. It was the code he lived by in his riskiest political fights.
So, how did that philosophy actually play out in Washington? Well, here's the thing. Church wasn't some born rebel. His journey from being a pretty standard politician to a leading voice of dissent, it was a slow but really profound transformation.
You can see his whole evolution right here. I mean, in the 50s, he's a classic Cold Warrior, right? He's out there raising money for Radio Free Europe to fight communism. But then the Vietnam War changed everything for him. By the late 60s, he was one of the leading doves in the Senate, even co-sponsoring the famous Cooper-Church Amendment to try and limit the president's power to wage war. That was a direct challenge to the White House.
And you know, his stance on Vietnam wasn't just about that one war. It went deeper. He became really skeptical of unchecked presidential power, especially when it came to foreign policy and secret operations. This totally set the stage for his later work investigating the intelligence agencies. He'd seen up close how power could be abused when it was left in the shadows.
Now, as you can imagine, taking these kinds of stands, especially when you're a senator from a conservative state like Idaho, well, it came at a really steep cost. His principles were constantly being put to the test by the political reality back home.
And the thing is, his convictions had very real consequences. His opposition to Vietnam, it led to a recall effort against him. His investigation into the CIA and FBI, that earned him powerful enemies among the new wave of conservative activists, the New Right, who painted him as weak and unpatriotic. And his support for the Panama Canal Treaty, that made him a top target, and it ultimately cost him his Senate seat in 1980.
But here's the ironic part. While he's getting all this heat in Idaho, on the national stage, he was becoming a star. All that publicity from the Church Committee made him a household name. So he jumps into the presidential race late in 1976. And you know what? He did surprisingly well. He won 4 state primaries, which just proved that his message about holding power accountable was really resonating with a lot of Americans.
So when all is said and done, what did Frank Church leave behind? Well, beyond all the political drama, his legacy is literally written on the laws of our country, and even on the map of his home state.
Let's start with this number. It's big, it's specific, and it represents a piece of his soul.
Yup, 2.2 million acres. See, Church was a huge outdoorsman, a passionate conservationist. He championed the creation of this enormous wilderness area in Idaho, and after he died, they renamed it in his honor. It's one of the biggest protected wilderness areas in the lower 48 states, a beautiful testament to his love for his home.
And this brings us right back to where we started. This is probably the single most important thing that came out of his work, establishing real, lasting accountability. Before the Church Committee, Congress barely had any oversight of the intelligence agencies. It was minimal. After his investigation, permanent oversight committees were set up in both the House and the Senate. It fundamentally changed the balance of power in Washington forever.
Ultimately, Frank Church's entire story forces us to wrestle with this fundamental question, a question that is just as urgent today, in our age of digital surveillance and global threats, as it was back in 1975. His work wasn't just about uncovering bad things that happened in the past. It was about trying to build safeguards for the future. And the debate he started over that essential line between our security and our liberty, well, that debate continues to shape our country to this very day.